I declare the council meeting open at 18:20 this evening. Good evening, councillors, staff, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting today is being held on Whadjuk Noongar Budja, and I would like to acknowledge and pay my respects to elders past, present and future. I thank all past and present members of the community that have supported the city to better understand and value Noongar culture within the city of Wanneroo. I invite you to bow your head in prayer. Lord, we thank you for blessing our city, our community and our council. Guide us all in our decision-making to act fairly, without fear or favour, with compassion, integrity, wisdom and honesty. May we show true leadership, be inclusive of all and guide all of the city's people and many families to a prosperous future that all may share. We ask this in your name. Amen. Please note that the audio-visual proceedings of tonight's meeting will be live broadcast online, with the exception of matters discussed behind closed doors. The broadcast of the proceedings of the meeting can be accessed live and on demand through the City of Wanneroo YouTube channel. We have apologies and leave of absence. Councillor Moore is on maternity leave, not paternity leave. Can we just change the documents in future to read maternity leave, please? We have Councillor Coetzee, who's absent this evening, and Councillor, sorry, I've had a mind blank. Phil Bedworth is absent this evening. We have new requests for leave of absence. The following request for leave of absence has been received, and I'll group them together. Councillor Bedworth has asked for a leave of absence from the 25th of March 2025 to the 20th of April 2025 inclusive. Councillor Berry has asked for a leave of absence from the 27th of March 2025 to the 20th of April 2025 inclusive. And I understand there's another leave of absence. Councillor Nguyen, do you have a leave of absence you're requesting as well? So that is for the 27th of May 2025 to the 24th of June 2025 inclusive. Just those 2 days? So the leave of absence is requested for the 27th of May and the 24th of June. Do I have a mover and seconder for these leaves of absences? Moved, Deputy Mayor Rowe. Seconded, Councillor... Sorry? Oh, Councillor Seif, yes. Okay, councillors, could you please vote on this? And that is passed unanimously with all the councillors in the chamber supporting that. We have public question and statement time. The following general rules apply to public question and statement time. Public questions and statements should only relate to the business of the local government and should not be a personal statement or opinion. Only questions relating to matters affecting local government will be considered at a council meeting, and only questions that relate to the purpose of the meeting will be considered at a special council meeting. Questions may be taken on notice and responded to after the meeting. Questions may not be directed at specific council members or a city employee. Questions are not to be framed in such a way as to reflect adversely on a particular council member or a city employee. First priority will be given to persons who are asking questions relating to items on the current council meeting agenda, and second priority will be given to public statements. Only public statements regarding items on the council agenda under consideration will be heard. Each person seeking to ask questions or make a statement may address the council for a maximum of 3 minutes each. We have a question from Lydia Dominiques, and unfortunately she had to go home this evening, and so it was received in writing prior to the meeting, so I'll read the question out and read admin's response. and it's relating to PQ 01325. What is the City's Parks Maintenance Division management plan to safeguard, that is, minimise bushfire danger, residents whose property borders Kinsale Park, i.e. 15 Chalmers Court, Mindarie, in particular the permanent removal of the non-native acacia plants? The response by the Director of Assets states administration will continue ongoing weed control, maintain firebreak clearances, selectively thin acacia species and rehabilitate cleared areas with a selected range of endemic flora to help reduce fire intensity and mitigate risks to life and property. We have one other question and statement today. It's from Mr. Peter Mulcahy. Mr. Mulcahy, could you please stand up at the podium and turn on the microphone and give us your name and suburb and proceed with your questions. Thank you. Silver buttons on the, there you go.
Great. Yeah, my name's Peter Mulcahy. I'm from 77 Alresford Drive, Maringaroo. Yeah, my context tonight is a follow-up from the question I asked at the last council meeting. And if I may, I'd like to start with a brief statement and then ask my question. So it was concerning the operations of the council in regard to the COVID injections rollout. The recent Australian Human Rights Commission report titled Collateral Damage concluded that there is a lot of trust to be regained post-pandemic, especially from the people that felt themselves to be collateral damage to the country's overall pandemic response. That is why progress needs to be made now to ensure that human rights are a non-negotiable consideration for any future emergency response in Australia. And that response was driven by government, and this council forms part of government. It also noted regarding the COVID-19 injections said that lost trust from people has resulted that there are less people taking regular vaccines now, which is a consequence to the community. My last question was about the Shire's involvement in the COVID-19 injections. The Shire of Wanneroo and this council partnered in the COVID-19 experimental gene therapy rollout in the cause of this community's health. And I have no doubt, absolutely no doubt, that the purpose and work of this council was with the community's health in mind. I'm back here today urging the council with the same feeling of responsibility and commitment to be taken now, given that the community's health continues to be at risk by these injections when the emergency is well and truly over. I would like to draw your attention, we all know about Port Hedland, but I would like to draw your attention to the recent stand by the Shire of Mundaring, and they have made a ruling. It's their decision 4. You can note it. It is on page 19 of their 11th of the 3rd, 2025 council meeting unconfirmed minutes, and that's available online. So I'll leave that with you. I know that you have plenty of information to address this and make decisions if you want to. So I just hope that the council sees the importance of this in the community and in its operations. So my question is simply this today. I haven't had an answer to my last question, and I was told at this meeting that I would get it. So I guess I'm asking why I haven't had it and when I will get it.
Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your question. I will need to follow up on that tomorrow. I know there was some communication that was circulated internally, and I had assumed that correspondence had been sent. So I apologise if it hasn't. I'll follow that up tomorrow and see if we can get that to you as quickly as possible.
Are you able to commit to a timeframe for me, or is that, if you can't, you can't, but I would ask my employees that.
Absolutely. Well, if you could leave your details, maybe I'll grab them from you in a minute, and I might give you a phone call tomorrow if that's okay, and talk about exactly when I can respond to you in detail.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll leave the details at the front.
That'd be fantastic. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr Mulcahy.
Thank you.
And I don't think there are any other public questions from the gallery. We now go to item 4, confirmation of minutes from the ordinary council meeting on the 25th of February 2025. Do I have a mover and seconder for this item? Moved, Councillor Figg. Seconded, Councillor Nguyen. Do I have any questions on this item or any corrections? If there are no questions or corrections, councillors, please cast your vote for the confirmation of minutes. And that is passed unanimously. I now go to announcements by the Mayor without discussion. And I'm making the announcement. Unfortunately, Leslie's not in the chamber, but I'm sure we would like to have this on the record. Our Manager of Cultural Development, Leslie Wilkinson, after many years, is retiring. Leslie Wilkinson commenced with the City as Manager of Cultural Development in April 2019. She has proven herself as a leader with strong business acumen and a core strength around innovation and change that has created better outcomes for the community as well as individuals. Leslie has developed many lasting relationships within the City and will be greatly missed. Her last day of work is Friday, the 28th of March. This coming Friday, isn't it? And we all wish her the very best for the future. And I'm sure councillors, all of you, will wish her the very best for the future. Thank you. And I'm going to read this whole statement before I go down with everybody to give the awards. We actually wiped out the awards at the IPWIA Awards 2025. Really, really fantastic. I know another council said they did, but they didn't. We got 2 more awards than them. So let's just say that we beat them, but there's no competition here. We're just the best. But that's my opinion. I'm pleased to share that the City was recognised at the 2025 Institute of Public Works Engineering Australasia Awards for Excellence this month, winning 3 awards and earned high commendations in 2 categories. The Wangara Smart Cities CCTV project won 2 categories: Best Public Works under $2 million and Excellence in Innovation. Riverlinks Park Playground won Best Public Works Project, $2 million to $5 million, and was also a finalist in Excellence in Innovation. The Mindari Breakwater Upgrade received a high commendation in Best Public Works Project, greater than $5 million, and Excellence in Assets Management. You know, when we're winning so many awards, sometimes we're really high, but we have to give someone else a look in. They have to be fair with all of the councils, don't they, really? So we're happy to be generous. These projects were supported by the federal and state government grants, as well as funding from the City, and represent the City's diverse capital works program, which reflects Council's commitment to improving community safety and providing spaces for our community to enjoy. Fantastic outcomes like these could not be achieved without the collaboration and input of team members from all across the organisation, and I congratulate everyone who helped bring these fantastic initiatives to life for our community. Now, there's a whole heap of people that have to come up the front, and I hope there's someone with a camera. Where is my list of people? Here. So, all these people need to come on down. It's Harminder Singh, it's Lionel Nicholson, it's Elliot Broadhurst, it's Brian G and Ian Aravolo. And unfortunately, Rory couldn't be here this evening because he had a family engagement. Mindari Breakwater Upgrade Project. Oh, right. There you go. Isn't it wonderful to see those projects winning awards and groundbreaking, life-changing projects they are? It's really fantastic. Thank you to the team that puts all our dreams together. Okay, item 6. Do I have any questions from council members? If there are no questions from council members, there are no petitions. So we now go to reports. Declarations of interest by council members, including the nature and extent of which the interest are to be made at the commencement of the item to which the interest relates. Declarations of interest forms are to be completed and handed to the Chief Executive Officer. Our first item is PSO 10325, preparation of amendment number 233 to District Planning Scheme number 2, normalising the zoning over portions of the Lot 12 Jindalee agreed local structure plan number 36 and Lot 12 Jindalee Beachside Estate coastal village agreed local structure plan number 78. Do I have a mover and seconder for this item? Moved Councillor Parker, seconded Councillor Figg. Councillor Parker, would you like to speak to this item?
Happy with the report as is, thank you.
And Councillor Figg, would you like to speak to this item?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Are there any speakers against this item? If there are no speakers against this item, councillors, please cast your vote. And that is passed unanimously. I now go to assets, approval services, ASO 10325, endorsement of the Asset Management Strategy 2024 to 2030 and infrastructure asset manager plans. Do I have a mover and seconder for this item? Moved Councillor Wright, seconded Deputy Mayor Rowe. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to this item?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just contribute a few comments. Really happy with the report. I think the quality and high calibre that the assets team have done for these documents to bring them up to the standard of where they are, and I guess contributing to the city's asset management journey has been really impressive. And I think it was quite unanimous around the feedback table that these reports were of a high quality and actually does set the standard of moving forward around what all of our assets look like around the city. And there's a clear plan forward in terms of how council can support the administration to continue to improve our process. So thank you to the assets team for these fantastic documents.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Deputy Mayor Rowe, would you like to speak to this item?
Just building on what Councillor Wright's already said, this particular body of work was a collaboration across multiple service units, and it really engaged council member input. The presentations that we received at Forum provided a great amount of evidence that allowed council to have an informed discussion about the intervention levels for asset renewal standards. And I think tonight's discussion, and I hope the ease at which this item passes, is a demonstration of the administration working at its best in collaboration with council.
Thank you. Do I have any speakers against this item? If there are no speakers against this item, councillors, please cast your vote. And that is passed unanimously. We now go to ASO 2325, the Flynn Drive Road upgrade, stage 2 and 3, offset proposal. Do I have a mover and seconder for this item? Moved Councillor Miles, seconded Deputy Mayor Rowe. Councillor Miles, would you like to speak to this item?
Just that, you know, the Flynn Drive Road upgrade has been waiting for a while for our residents have been asking it for a while now, and I think this report is obviously another one of those stages. I think the residents want us to move on with this as soon as we can, and this is just to say we're happy with the offset proposals. Thank you, Mayor.
To speak to this item.
Thank you, Mayor. Coming at it from a different perspective, I think the reclassification of the Montrose bushland and the additional protections that will provide will be well received. I attended a board meeting for Roseworth Primary School this morning, conscious that it was a live item before council. All I could really do was share with them a copy of the council report that's in the public domain and the initial feedback from the school who have adopted that bushland under their care and protection was a great sense of positivity around what this would mean with more vegetation potentially being planted at that site. So the feedback from a key stakeholder at this early stage was very positive, and I wanted to table those comments tonight.
Are there any speakers against this item? If there are no speakers against this item, councillors, please cast your vote. And that is passed unanimously. We now go to Community in Place, Community Facilities, CPO 10325, Club Nightlights Program, February Small Grants Funding Round 2025-26. Do I have a mover and seconder for this item? Moved Councillor Wright, seconded. Councillor Parker. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Just add some brief comments. It was a team effort that we were able to pop in some councillor requests for this site from the central team to ensure that the clubs have the accessibility to play proper games on that site. I'm glad that there's been identified an opportunity to be able to apply for that external grant funding. And I'm hopeful that the state government will be able to approve that in full, so that site can be built up for our central areas to be able to play proper games when the showground is at capacity, or if we have no other sites that are able to cater for any other sporting group. So I'm looking forward to this being an active reserve that we'll be able to utilise in the future for proper games. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Parker, would you like to speak to this item?
Nothing further to add, thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any speakers against this item? If there are no speakers against this item, councillors, please cast your vote. That is passed unanimously. We now go to CPO 20325, Community Facilities Planning Framework. Do I have a mover and seconder for this item? Moved Councillor Fick. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Parker. Councillor Fick, would you like to speak to this item?
Very briefly, Mayor, I think the standard of buildings that we provide to our community are very good. I think that we are able to provide facilities that can cater to a variety of groups in our community. I think this will assist in doing that into the future, and I think it'll assist in identifying those facilities which need some help. Other than that, I'm happy with the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fick. Councillor Parker, would you like to speak to this item?
No, just to highly commend the report and thank everybody concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Do I have any speakers against this item? Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. Just speaking against this item tonight, as I have various concerns with the framework itself, which I have circulated some of those points through my alternative to council members. In adopting this framework tonight does cause some concerns and jeopardising the City of Wanneroo's ability to effectively meet the needs of the rapidly growing community through establishing a baseline that is no longer true and does not take into consideration the latest VUCA.
Councillor Wright, I just want to finish that you're not, this isn't an argument for your alternative, is it? It's just for this substantive motion, isn't it? Is that correct? Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. And council members must ensure that they feel comfortable by having all the available information to make an informed decision. And unfortunately, this current framework as it stands does not or creates a risk that will filter through all the supporting strategies and policies that will be created under the framework. The framework as it stands now, for example, lacks the adequate trends from the last 2 to 3 years. As I know, the consultation and work done was roughly between 4 and 5 years ago. And also in regards to the inventory and utilisation data, there's not enough in there for councillors to take into consideration things like Halesworth Park, the East Perth Football Club that have just moved into the city, Caribou Newtown, which has been recently increased in terms of what's being proposed there. All of that at the baseline level of what this framework is supposed to cover doesn't have that adequate detail, which should then flow on to the supporting documents. And I think if you don't have a baseline that is correct, then that's where we start to see problems in those surrounding documents. And I understand that administration's view is that those documents will receive additional consultation or additional research conducted by whoever that is. But I believe that the framework, as this is council endorsed document, we need to ensure that this is up to date and reflective of the environment that we are in now, because if this framework is going to be used for the next 15 to 20 years for all community facilities planning, we need to make sure that it's going to take into account the latest information around what all our sporting associations are saying, what all our clubs and what the current capacity levels are like, what the membership levels are like. And it's the first report that I've seen come to council where we are actually endorsing a summary document and not the full community facilities framework, which does concern me as well, because the full framework does have additional information that the summary document doesn't cover. I'll leave my comments there. Thank you, Mayor.
Just want to clarify, if this substantive doesn't get over the line, are you foreshadowing an alternative for this if it lapses?
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have a speaker for this item? Councillor Herridge, you want to ask a question? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Just 2 questions, if I may. Just looking through the changes to report from the briefing, I've just wanted to ask a question about the framework in comparison to the sense of place. Which one should come first? It's actually listed under the community infrastructure plans and local area plans. And the second question was just in regards to the additional planning principles. Why were they added in? Because I believe we've got a motion on notice coming that we're discussing, and I would be thinking that was preempting whatever that discussion was. So that just those 2 questions, if I can.
First of all, Councillor Herridge, I'm not aware of a motion on notice coming up from before. Sorry?
Would you like me to clarify? I think she's talking about the motion I did previously about building guidelines that this also refers to, so one that's already been addressed by the council.
So, Ms Davis, would you like to respond to those questions?
Thank you, councillors, for your question. And through yourself, Mayor, we have the Manager of Community Facilities and the author of the report in the room. I'd like to defer to him.
Mr Clem.
Thank you, Mayor. Could I just clarify the first question, please, Councillor Herridge?
Yeah, sorry, I might not have made that clear enough. We just had a good catch up with some of the team about the sense of place and what work we're actually doing in that space. So reading this today, it kind of highlighted to me how important both of these documents are, and I was wondering whether one actually should come before the other. I'm thinking sense of place, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Mr Clem.
Thanks, Mayor. The information in the changes reports just notes that those local area plans, that they talk on a larger, more holistic scale around a particular area, not just on the community facility. So, whilst the community infrastructure plans will complement and work with those local area plans, they are, I guess, separate processes. I think they can be done concurrently, and they will need to inform each other. And so as we're working through those community infrastructure plans, we'll be conscious of the particular areas and the place areas, and making sure that that we are working collaboratively with the place team to develop those documents.
Thank you, Mr Clem. I think there was someone that wanted to speak for this item on the other side there. Councillor Smith.
Sorry, did Councillor Herridge have a second question before?
I thought you'd asked 2 questions in that. Sorry. Have you got a second question?
Was a second question that was in regards to the planning principles that were added into the framework, and just wondering if they were coming in the discussion that will come from Councillor Smith's previous motion, and if we're preempting that discussion by adding those principles, because we didn't get to discuss those. They were something that came up and they've just been slipped in.
Mr Clem.
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, they were suggested when we brought the community facility planning framework through the concept forum process. We were asked to consider if they could be included with the other planning principles that were recommended. So we did review those in the context of the framework, and we have suggested that they can be adopted and they can be included as part of the framework in that planning principles section.
Thank you, Mr Clem. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I am happy to speak for this item, but I reserve my right to vote otherwise. Additionally, somebody might want to speak against. There's also opportunity for that. In terms of this framework, I am, in general, a big fan of the development and hopeful future implementation of this community facilities planning framework, because we have many facilities to be created in the Northern Corridor and East Wanneroo, and it's great that this will provide a greater ability to provide strategic alignment and consistency in the planning and delivery, and outline the city's principles of provision and development of minimum standards, which I think is really important, and to help achieve that consistency across our city. I thank the administration for their work and the incorporation of the 2 additional planning principles, the first being for cost-effective design, which I think demonstrates the importance of using ratepayers' contributions wisely. The second being continual design and delivery improvements, which helps administration to capture and retain institutional knowledge while staff may come and go. Additionally, I look forward to the creation and implementation of the building design guidelines, standard drawings for common infrastructure, and excitingly for families, for play space strategy plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any speakers against this item? Deputy Mayor Rowe.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll keep it brief. A couple of weeks ago, I asked some questions in terms of the financial implications of this. Some extra information's been added for estimates over the next several years, but no definitive costings at this stage. And those concerns that I have around the long-term financial plan, given that we're several years now without adopting the LTFP, and that's going to continue out at least for a short while to come, until that process concludes and we endorse a new long-term financial plan, I don't feel comfortable endorsing this report, so I'll be voting against.
Thank you. Do I have any councillors speaking for this item? Do you want to speak for this item, Councillor Wright?
I was going to close. Oh, no, we don't close.
You can't, you've already spoken. Any councillors speaking for this item? If there are no further speakers for this item, Councillor Figg, would you like the right of reply? Thank you, councillors. Cast your vote. And there were 3 councillors in support of, wait a minute, that's 11 there. We're missing one. Councillor Parker. There were 3 councillors in support of the substantive, which was myself, Councillor Seif and Councillor Figg, and there were 9 against, which is the remainder councillors who are here. As the substantive has fallen over, we have an alternative, which is Councillor Wright has submitted. Councillor Wright, do you have a seconder for your alternative?
Yes, Deputy Mayor Rowe.
Thank you. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to your alternative?
Thank you, Mayor. Just adding a few additional points. So obviously this alternate still provides in principle support to the administration to continue on their work that they're doing in this space, and also highlighting the administration comment that the consultant has come back saying that they do have capacity to be able to update that framework. So there were no other reasons provided to the administration in terms of not supporting that extra work being done, and hopefully those net impacts around what additional facilities are going to be needed, the population and demographic data, and that integration with the LTFP, I think will be some really good additions to this framework, just to make sure that everyone is fully comfortable and so that document doesn't sort of sit separate from everything else, because I want to see this framework be successful, just like with the recently endorsed asset management plan. So I want council to be fully comfortable that they have all the information and I guess the latest available data so we can make the best decisions possible moving forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Rowe, would you like to speak to this alternative?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to acknowledge the work of the councillor, I believe it addresses all of the concerns I had in terms of integration of long-term financial plan information and seeking up-to-date evidence-based decision-making. I think that'll give council more assurance in this process.
Thank you. Any speakers against this alternative? If there are no speakers against this alternative, councillors, please cast your vote. Passed unanimously. We now go to CPO 3-325, Bushfire Brigades Amendment, Local Law 2025. Do I have a mover and seconder for this item? Moved Councillor Smith. Seconded Councillor Huntley. Councillor Smith, would you like to speak to this item? Councillor Huntley, would you like to speak to this item? Do I have any speakers against this item? If there are no speakers against this item, please cast your vote. And that is passed unanimously. We now go to Corporate Strategy and Performance, CSO 10325, Financial Activity Statement for the period ending 31st of January 2025. Do I have a mover and seconder for this item? Moved Councillor Miles. Seconded Councillor Berry. Councillor Miles, would you like to speak to this item?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Whilst I'm happy with the report, I did just want to ask administration for a couple of clarifications when I reread the report today. Just with one of the items that I requested last week, Mayor, was if we could separate the reserves or I highlight what portion of the reserves out of the 610 million is municipal funding and how much was DCP. The administration's got a comment in there of 146, I think $114 million for the DCP. Can I just clarify if that is actually correct?
Ms Callan?
Thank you for the question. Through the chair, as far as I understand it from the Chief Financial Officer, that is correct.
Thank you. Councillor Miles, you have another question?
Yeah, thank you. And just to clarify, the sorry, I'm using a new software package today, Mayor. I also was looking again at the extra revenue that's come in from fees and services. And it says $2.7 million. Whilst there's a breakdown to say that 900,000, almost 900,000 is from rubbish, I was trying to ascertain where the other fees for services was coming from, and can we get a better breakdown on that? So I don't know whether it's library services or, I know it's not planning because that's under a different heading, so.
Mr CEO.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Miles, and through the Mayor, we wouldn't be able to obviously do that for you tonight. We can certainly follow up, take that on notice and provide you with that detail, Councillor Miles.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. Thanks, Mayor.
Ms Callan, do you have a response?
Through the chair, only just to add, sorry, Councillor Miles, are you referring to the information on page 176?
No, 181. So where am I? It says it's got the 2.7 million of extra fees. I was trying to ascertain where that extra fee was coming from. So that's where I was getting it from.
Okay.
Is that fine, Ms Callan? Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification.
So, Councillor Miles, do you want to speak any further to this item?
No, that was it. Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Berry, do you want to speak to this item?
No, thanks, Madam Mayor.
Any speakers against this item? If there are no speakers against this item, councillors, cast your vote. And that is passed unanimously, councillors. We now go to the warrant of payments, and that is CS 020325 for the period to the 31st of January 2025. Do I have a mover and seconder for the warrant of payments? Moved Councillor Herridge, seconded Councillor Seave. Councillor Herridge, would you like to speak to this?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Seave, would you like to speak to this item? No, thank you. Are there any speakers against? Councillors, cast your vote. And that is passed unanimously. We now go to CE 010325, Annual Compliance Audit Report for 2024. Do I have a mover and seconder for this? Deputy Mayor Rowe moves it. Do I have a seconder for this item? Councillor Wright. Deputy Mayor Rowe, would you like to speak to this item?
Only to say that it received the required amount of attention and good discussion through the Audit and Risk Committee.
Thank you. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to this item?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Do I have any speakers against? If there are no speakers against, councillors, please cast your vote. And that is passed unanimously. We now go to item CE 02325, extension of review dates of council policies. Do I have a mover and seconder for this item? Moved Councillor Parker. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Smith. Councillor Parker, would you like to speak to this item?
Happy with the report as is.
Thank you. Councillor Smith, would you like to speak to this item? Are there any speakers against this item? Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. Just speaking in against this item, as I believe that it should be the policy committee that is able to determine what those dates are as a matter of principle. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers for this item? If there are no speakers for, are there any speakers against? I'll give another option. If there are no speakers against, Councillor Parker, would you like the right of reply?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, cast your vote. And that item is passed. 7 supporting, 5 against. Those against are Councillor Rowe, Councillor Herridge, Councillor Wright, Councillor Miles and Councillor Berry. Those supporting were myself, Aitken, Councillor Seave, Councillor Newen, Councillor Huntley, Councillor Parker, Councillor Figg and Councillor Smith. We now go to item CE 03325, change to appointment of presiding and deputy members of committees. Do I have a mover and seconder for this substantive? Councillor Seave, do I have a seconder? Councillor Herridge. Councillor Seave, would you like to speak to this item? No, thank you. Councillor Herridge, would you like to speak to this item?
No, happy as is, thanks.
Any speakers against? Are you speaking against?
I've got an amendment.
Okay. Do you have a seconder for your amendment?
Yes, Councillor Miles.
Councillor Miles. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to your amendment?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, councillors, for the opportunity to speak. I just wanted to keep this clear and concise, as the admin comments can be quite complex and confusing for this particular item. The policy committee will be a strong committee that should have powers to call in policies, undertake reviews, whether they are minor or major, and grant extensions. Unfortunately, the issue with how administration has implemented this policy around having the authority to determine what is major or minor has not been left to the committee, therefore council is still being left no control. I believe my amendment is to provide absolute clarity to the administration that council wants this committee to have the time, focus and delegations to ensure our policies are contemporary, reviewed regularly and are workshopped in an appropriate manner. Similar to concept forums, we could potentially split the policy committee into a minor and major review section. but adopting this amendment tonight will ensure every policy, whether it is major or minor, should be presented to the Policy Committee with only one exception. That one exception is all new policies of council or local planning policies will be presented to forums for discussion and workshopping. Thank you, councillors, for your consideration on this amendment. Thank you.
Councillor Miles, would you like to speak to this amendment?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I'm in support of the changes to the terms of reference, which everybody has received in their green folder tonight. And the reason being why is when we originally put this up for council to adopt, and council was happy to adopt as a committee to take on policy, it was to take away some of the that sort of work, which is sort of policy dog work, out of this meeting and have it in another public forum, and also remove it out of our special forums because policy can take up quite a bit of time just in those spaces where other more pressing items need to be coming to us. So I'm in total support of changing the terms of reference as listed in the documentation you have before you, and I ask you to support these changes so we can get that committee working sooner rather than much later as prescribed.
Do I have any speakers against the amendment? Questions? Deputy Mayor Rowe.
Just one question, Mayor, and I think this relates both to the amendment and to the substantive that has already been introduced. To the administration, I asked this at briefing. I don't think I really got an answer that satisfied my curiosity. How do you determine what is major and minor? Because that is very influential in how much policy discussion will actually come to the committee. Because if it is only down to variations of words being considered minor, there'd be some concern that the committee would not have much function at all. So how do you determine what is major versus minor?
Ms Coles.
Thank you for the question, Deputy Mayor. So a major change would be if the context of the policy has completely changed. It might be that there's a change in the legislation, or there's something, it may be that council's taken a different direction in a particular way. So one of it might be, if your risk appetite changes, we might have to look at policies and look at obviously the appetite within them. So they would be your major changes. Minor changes would be obviously if there's any administrative changes that need to make, but if it's not changing the actual scope or purpose of the policy, then that would still be a minor change.
Deputy Mayor Rowe.
My understanding, given that it's the establishment of a committee, the presiding member will have the capacity to adopt the standing orders in full at the commencement of that each committee meeting. Can I ask if this committee has the delegated authority required to be able to refer an item to forum for workshopping? Or alternatively, if this committee could utilise the meetings policy, which has that mechanism in place. So the question is, if the committee had an item before it that they deemed to be quite major and requiring workshopping in a more less structured setting than the standing orders, they would be able to, under this amendment, either refer it to forum or take advantage of the meetings policy to do so.
Ms Coles.
Thank you for the question, Deputy Mayor. Yes, that is correct. The only thing the committee does not have delegated authority for is any policy that requires absolute majority, but they can certainly look at them, send them to a concept forum, or make recommended changes to council for council to adopt.
Do you have another question, Deputy Mayor Rowe?
Just the last one, Mayor, to finish this off. The committee, given that the reports brought before it would be administration reports, the administration would still have the capacity to recommend to the committee whether, in the administration's point of view, it should be a major or a minor view, and under this amendment, the committee would make the ultimate decision.
Ms Coles.
Yes, that's correct.
Do I have any speakers against this amendment? Councillor Nguyen.
Just with an early item where we've made a decision to extend the policies, to what extent can this committee change those extension dates?
Ms Coles.
Thank you for the question. The committee would be able to provide extension to policy dates. Apart from those policies that require absolute majority, they can recommend an extension to council, but those policies do require absolute majority decisions.
Any speakers? Oh, do you have another question?
Could you clarify that? So if the committee were minded to have an earlier review of those or extend it further, they are able to do that without council approval.
Ms Coles?
Yes, that's correct. So the committee, if you're going to expand the delegated authority that they've got to make decisions on policies, they can decide. So if there's a change in a particular direction and the committee want a policy brought forward, then they can request that.
Any speakers against? If there are no Councillor Miles, do you have a question?
Yeah, just a question. I do note on the second page of the document, it does have, oh, wrong one. So many bits of paper here, Mayor. On the second page, it does, under item 4, it does state that Councillor Noonan Berry are not on the membership of that, because this was done during a time when they were not present. So if they wish to go on this committee, could we add them on during this process?
Ms Coles?
Thank you for the question. So you can make a further amendment tonight to add further councillors onto the committee. The policy committee itself will not be able to appoint additional members, only council can do that.
So is there any, it's interesting because we're only supposed to deal with one amendment at the time. Councillor Wright?
I am happy to incorporate that if both councillors are wanting to be on that committee. So it would just be all councillors are appointed to the policy committee. Sorry, Mayor, I know we don't like doing changes on the fly. Or it could be a third recommendation that council appoints Councillor Berry and Councillor Nguyen to the policy.
Can I just suggest that maybe we just hold off a little minute? Actually, would you like me to stop the meeting for about 5 minutes for this to be considered? Okay, Ms Coles? Or Mr CEO? Ms Coles? We...
Good starting point, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, do the councillors consent to be included in the policy committee?
Yes, I would. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
I withhold my consent.
Okay, Ms Coles? We're going to take a 5-minute break while they sort the wording out to come back again. I'm not going to go. So we will reconvene at 7:19 p.m. once they've got the wording sorted out. Thank you. Thank you. Is the altered amended according to the mover and seconder of the amended on the screen corrected? Thank you. Can't see it.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy with that. However, I thought Councillor Nguyen didn't want to be on it, unless I heard incorrectly.
I actually can't read it. Thank you. Are you happy with that change to the amendment, Councillor Wright, Councillor Miles? Okay, are there any speakers against the amendment?
Oh, sorry, Mayor. Yeah, thank you.
Any speakers against the amendment? If there are no speakers against the amendment, councillors, cast your vote. And there are 11 supporting the amendment and 1 against, which is myself. We now go to the substantive as amended, moved by Councillor Seif, seconded by Councillor Herridge. We also, with item 1 of the recommendation, we need to nominate a councillor member to the role of presiding member of the Policy Review Committee. Do I have any nominations for the presiding member of the Policy Review Committee? Deputy Mayor Rowe.
Mayor, can I nominate someone?
Let's see if there's anyone who nominates themselves first. So, Deputy Mayor Rowe, were you prepared to nominate for this role? Are there any others prepared to nominate for this role? If there are no others, do we all agree to put Deputy Mayor Rowe in this role? I'll put that in there. And which councillor, do I have any councillor members wanting to be the deputy of the Policy Review Committee? Councillor Figg, Councillor Seif, Councillor Smith. Councillor Seif, or withdraw. Councillor Seif, would you be happy to be the deputy to the Policy Committee? Anyone else? Okay, is everyone in agreement with that? Okay. So, Councillor Seif, would you like to speak to the substantive recommendation as amended? Councillor Herridge, would you like to speak to the substantive recommendation as amended?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Any speakers against the substantive as amended? There are no speakers against. Councillors, cast your vote. And that is passed unanimously. We now go to... Oh, well, sorry, it came up as 12 and I voted yes. Okay, could you reset the vote, please? That's the same. It says amendment alternative. So we're voting on the substantive as amended. And that's passed unanimously. We now go to CEO 40325, consideration of minutes and decisions of the electors' annual general meeting held 3rd of February 2025. Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Miles, do I have a seconder? Councillor Berry. Councillor Miles, would you like to speak to this item?
I'm happy with the report, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Berry, would you like to speak to this item?
I'm also happy with the report as is. Thank you, Mayor.
Do I have any speakers against the item? If there are no speakers against the item, councillors, cast your vote. And that is passed unanimously. We now go to CEO 5325, update on resolution MNO 1/1224 from Councillor Bedworth, accommodation for councillor clinics. Do we have a mover and seconder for this item? Moved Councillor Smith, seconded Councillor Miles. Councillor Smith, would you like to speak to this item? Councillor Miles, would you like to speak to this item? Do I have any speakers against this item? Therefore, councillors, cast your vote. This is CEO 50325. That is passed unanimously. We now go to CEO 60325, appointment of an alternative delegate to Mindarie Regional Council meeting on April the 25th. Do I have any councillors that would like to attend Mindarie Regional Council on that meeting? Well, it's between Councillor Smith and Councillor Parker. Councillor. Okay, Councillor Smith, is there anyone else that would want to go to that one meeting of Mindarie Regional Council? Okay, do I have a mover and seconder that council by absolute majority appoints Councillor Smith as the City of Wanneroo delegate to the Mindarie Regional Council for the Mindarie Regional Council's ordinary council meeting to be held on Thursday, 24th of April 2025, following which Councillor Wright will resume the role of delegate to the Mindarie Regional Council? Moved Deputy Mayor Rowe, seconded Councillor Berry. Do I have any speakers against? If there are no speakers against, would you like to speak to this item, Deputy Mayor Rowe? No, and Deputy Councillor, okay, cast your vote. And that is supported unanimously at 12. We go to CEO 70325, Ordinary Local Government Postal Election 2025. Do I have a mover and seconder for this item? Moved Councillor Herridge, seconder. Councillor Seif. Councillor Herridge, would you like to speak to this item?
Just quickly, Mayor, I just wanted to pick up in the report that we, page 352, just wanted to check. We've sent an acceptance of the cost estimate already. Is that before we've made an recommendation and done a vote? Have we preempted, or is that all okay?
Mr Brett Matthewson.
Thank you for the question through the chair. No, that's in line with the WAEC process. The flowchart that's provided at attachment 2 to the report shows that they send the cost estimate. We accept the cost estimate. They send us the written agreement to proceed, which you will have received at the beginning of this week. And council then, with both those documents in hand, votes on the proposal to have WAEC take responsibility for the election.
Herridge, would you like to speak to this item?
No, that's fine. Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Seif, would you like to speak to this item? Do I have any speakers against? If there are no speakers against, councillors, cast your vote. And that's passed unanimously. We go to CE 080325, confirmation of delegate appointments to the Bushfire Advisory Committee, page 361. Do I have a mover and seconder for this item? First of all, do I have any councillors who want to be the deputy delegates, please? You're already on it. We need 2 deputy delegates. So Councillor Miles. And anyone else? Another deputy delegate?
I'm happy to nominate Councillor Seif if she accepts.
Anyone else? Any objections? Okay, do I have a mover and seconder for this, which states that council appoints the following council members as deputy delegates to the Bushfire Advisory Committee: Deputy Delegate Councillor Seif and Deputy Delegate Councillor Miles. Deputy Mayor Rose moving it. Councillor Herridge is seconding it. Deputy Mayor Rowe, would you like to speak to the item? Councillor Herridge, would you like to speak to the item?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Any speakers against the item? If there are no speakers against the item, councillors, please cast your vote. And that is passed unanimously. We have no motions on notice. We have no urgent business. We do have confidential. I need a mover and seconder to go behind closed doors. Do I have a mover and seconder? Moved Councillor Figg, seconded Councillor Seif. Councillors, could you please vote to go behind closed doors?
In relation to the Alkimos Aquatic and Recreation Centre is confidential because it's not just about, it's about a contract that we may enter into. So if information comes out in there, it could have a detrimental impact on the actual tender process.
Ms Thrush.
Through you, Mayor, the item on the Bushfire Brigade's facilities is confidential because it has a matter regarding land that we may wish to discuss without prejudicing discussions that will happen at a later date regarding that piece of land.
Thank you. Councillors, could I have a vote on going behind closed doors for confidential, please? So I declare the meeting open at 9:34 p.m. The resolution for CR 010325 Volunteer Bushfire Brigade Facility Considerations Strategy that was passed unanimously. That was that Council endorses the recommendations as contained in the confidential report. For CR 020323, the Late Alkimos Aquatic and Recreational Centre Operational Management, which is that Council proceeds with recommendations 1 to 7 as contained in attachment 3. That was, there were 3 councillors against this resolution, which was myself, Councillor Nguyen, Councillor Seif. Councillors who supported this resolution were Councillor Huntley, Councillor Figg, Councillor Parker, Deputy Mayor Rowe, Councillor Herridge, Councillor Wright, Councillor Miles, Councillor Berry and Councillor Smith. Item 12, the date of the next meeting. The next council member agenda briefing has been scheduled for 6 p.m. on the 8th of April 2025 to be held at Council Chambers, Civic Drive, 23 Dundebar Road, Wanneroo. Thank you for your attendance, and I now declare the ordinary council meeting closed at 9:36 p.m. Thank you.